Hi guys, and welcome back to Mariah's Nerdy Notes. I know it's been a while since I talked, and the reason for that is that I moved across country. So I moved from Georgia to the central coast of California, and while it's beautiful, it's also freezing. So what I wanted to do today was get into an October TBR list. Things that, sort of go with the theme of Halloween and just would be a lot of fun to read this month. So I'm going to start out with one that I just finished yesterday actually, and it's called Death Warmed Over by Kevin J. Anderson. It is a detective novel with the main character being Dan Shambeau. He is turned into a zombie after what is called the Big Uneasy, which is an event that sort of brought ghosts, vampires, werewolves, mummies, witches, the whole enchilada. Sorry. So Dan Shambeau was a PI before he was killed, and he continues to be a PI after he comes back to life, after he is murdered. Dan works with his partner Robin Dreyer in Dreyer and Shambeau, and she is an attorney, and he is a PI serving the denizens of what becomes known as the Unnatural Quarter. So he is not only investigating his murder, he's also investigating cases for a number of clients in the Unnatural Quarter, and that of his girlfriend, Cheyenne, also known as Spooky, who is a ghost after she was killed shortly before he was. So the book follows him as it's sort of a mainline investigation. Every side investigation that he goes on ties into the main narrative. So he helps a vampire who's paranoid that a group called the Straight Edgers, or who are pro-human and anti-unnatural. He helps a pair of witches, sisters, who are suing a publishing company for a typo in a book that caused one of the sisters to be turned into a pig. Then you have a werewolf who's desperate to get a divorce from her husband. So he's acting as, the traditional private eye. And it's a great book. I just finished it yesterday. It's a light read. It's not that long. I think it's 296 pages, not even 300 pages. And the way it's written is a lot like a classic PI novel. There's damsels in distress, there's investigations, there's shootouts, there's a great scene in a factory. It's really worth checking out. The back of it says, single dead detective seeks clue. Ever since the Big Uneasy unleashed vampires, werewolves, and other undead denizens on the world, it's been hell being a detective, especially for zombie PI Dan Shambeau. Taking on the creepiest of cases in the Unnatural Quarter with a human lawyer for a partner and a ghost for a girlfriend, Shambeau redefines the dead on arrival. But just because he was murdered doesn't mean he'd leave his clients in the lurch. Besides, zombies are so good at lurching. Now he's back from the dead and back in business with a caseload that's downright unnatural. A resurrected mummy is suing the museum that put him on display. 2 witches, victims of a curse gone terribly wrong, seek restitution from a publisher for not using spell check on its magical tomes. And he's got to figure out a very personal question. Who killed him? For Dan Shambeau, it's all in a day's work. Still, does everybody have to call him Shamble? Funny, fresh, and irresistible, this cadaverous caper puts the PI in RIP with a vengeance. And it's recommended by Charlene Harris. So if you like the True Blood or the Sookie Stackhouse novels, then definitely check this one out. The next book on my list, not in any particular order, mind you, of what I'm going to read, is a book called Hotter Than Hell. It's edited by Kim Harrison, who is the author of the Outlaw Demon Whale series. So it says, surrender to the seduction of the otherworldly. Beyond the boundaries of the everyday is an unseen realm where anything you imagine is possible. Your demon lover is waiting for you in the shadows, ready to fulfill your secret wishes and most dangerous fantasies. Here, passion has a face and form both titillating and terrifying, and love has teeth and claws. Get ready to give in to your craving for something exquisitely dark and different. Hotter Than Hell gathers together a baker's dozen of today's boldest and best authors of supernatural fiction and paranormal romance in a breathtaking anthology that blends black magic with red-hot desire. From the tantalizing tale of a conflicted psychic vampire driven by a powerful savage love to the strange saga of a Greek warrior woman battling to save the world. These are stories outside the limits, as hypnotic as the full moon and hotter than the sun. And it has stories by Carrie Author, L.A. Banks, Heidi Betts, Kim Harrison, Tanya Huff, Susan Crenard, Marjorie Liu, Cheyenne McCrae, Lilith St. Croix, Susan Sizemore, and Denise Little, Carrie Vaughn, Linda Winstead Jones. And it's Hotter Than Hell, Kim Harrison. It's a short story anthology, so I'm really looking forward to that sort of change in pace from novels and nonfiction books that I've been reading. Next is Kelly Armstrong's Bitten. It's book 1 of the Otherworld series. Tells the story of Elena Michaels, who, and it's set in Canada, I think. So Elena Michaels seems like the typically strong and sexy modern woman. She lives with her architect boyfriend, writes for a popular newspaper, and works out at the gym. She's also a werewolf. Elena has done all she can to assimilate to the human world, with a man whose bite changed her existence forever, and his legacy continue to haunt her. Thrown into a desperate war for survival that tests her allegiance to a secret clan of werewolves, Elena must reckon with who and what she is in this passionate page-turning novel. It's a series on Sci-Fi and on Netflix now, which is how I discovered the series, and the only copy I could find is the one with the show on it, which I'm not thrilled about, but what can you do? I have read some of this book before, and I remember it being good, if a little angering at times. So when I do my review of this, either here or on my blog, mariahsnerdynotes.blogspot.com, I'll make sure to explain why. So on to the next one. This one's another anthology. It's called Southern Vampires. And, yeah, it has... it's all short stories written by one author, Karen K. Zweifel? Zweifel. Zweifel. So Zweifel. It's a really short book. It's just an anthology. I was living in the South when I bought it, so it made sense. It's true, they do exist. They suck the red out of watermelons, prey on the meatiest of southern debutantes, and outdo even the nastiest mosquitoes at the Baptist church picnic. You'll meet the charming lady from New Orleans who collects husbands, and a modern-day young vampire who's working to put herself through, what else, nursing school at night. They're vampires of the South, and there's more out there on your front porch than you may think. So y'all indulge in some southern fried, blood-curdling terror and take a stroll through these captivating tales of carnivorous southerners with unquenchable thirst. It has 2 excerpts. So every evening as shadows grow longer and the night advances, the citizens of LaGrange prepare themselves for the long siege to come, as people have prepared themselves for centuries. With windows tightly closed, talisman in hand, fragrant charms nearby, they await, with a growing sense of disquiet, a merciless onslaught. The next one says, Paul leaned over toward her neck, his sharp fangs searching instinctively for the throbbing vein that would, he hoped, end his torment. As he began to drink, he again felt that expectation of redemption that every episode brought. He felt an overriding sense of confidence that this girl, this time, could fill that aching void within. And 11 more bone-chilling tales. So, then there's this one. It's written by Tad Williams and Nina Kiriki Hoffman. And it's called Child of an Ancient City. And this one's a little bit different than the other ones because of where and how it's set. So, it's the Vampire's Wager. During the reign of the Caliph Harun al-Rashid, a caravan of soldiers sets forth from Baghdad on a dangerous mission to the lands of the north. Bandits fall upon them in the night, scattering their horses and stranding the party in the desolate mountains. But the worst is yet to come, for these hills stalked by an ancient and powerful vampire. One by one, the men are slain by the monsters, and surprisingly, the vampire challenges survivors to a contest. Whoever tells the saddest story shall go free. Only this way can any of them hope to escape alive. But the vampire has his own story to tell. So it's Ancient City. It's a very, the words in this book are very big, so it's not that the book is long in and of itself. So it's 265 pages. And it was originally published in 1992. So the book is as old as I am. If that tells you anything. But I'm really looking forward to this one just because it's kind of different than the other ones. It doesn't really, give that sort of sexy vampire feel or sexy werewolf feel. So, Child of an Ancient City by Tad Williams and Nina Kiriki Hoffman. I really hope I'm saying that right. So, and then finally is The Witches, Salem 1692 by Stacy Schiff. It is a nonfiction book, and it says the panic began early in 1692 over an exceptionally raw Massachusetts winter when a minister's niece began to writhe and roar. It spread quickly, confounding the most educated men and prominent politicians in the colony. Neighbors accused neighbors, husbands accused wives, parents and children one another. It ended less than a year later, but not before 19 men and women had been hanged and an elderly man crushed to death. Speaking loudly and emphatically, adolescent girls stood at the center of the crisis. Along with suffrage and prohibition, the Salem witch trials represent one of the few moments when women played the central role in American history. Drawing masterfully on the archives, Stacy Schiff introduces the authorities whose delicate agendas were at risk. Stacy Schiff introduces us to the strains on a Puritan adolescent's life and to the authorities whose delicate agendas were at risk. She illuminates the demands of a rigorous faith, the vulnerability of settlements adrift from the mother country, perched at a politically tumultuous time on the edge of what a visitor termed a remote, rocky, barren, bushy, wild, woody wilderness. With devastating clarity, the textures and tensions of colonial life emerge. Hidden patterns startlingly detach themselves from the darkness. Schiff begins early American anxieties to the fore to line them brilliantly with our own. An era of religious provocations, crowdsourcing, and invisible enemies, this enthralling story makes more sense than ever. The Witches and Schiff's riveting account of a seminal episode of primal American mystery unveiled in crackling detail and lyrical prose by one of our most acclaimed historians. And it has a beautiful map of Massachusetts Bay colony in 1692. This book is going to be really interesting to me, and I really wanted to read it, and it was highly recommended to me. One, for my love of history. Two, I've always wanted to visit Salem. And three, I really connect strongly with the women who were accused of being witches just because they didn't quite fit the mold of their colonial times. Whether that was because they were too outspoken, or it was because they were a midwife, or it was because they wanted, hi Lily, they wanted something more for themselves. And it was all driven by a bunch of teenage girls who nobody really knows why they did it. There have been a lot of there's a lot of speculation. They may have been pushed by their families to do it. They could have been suffering from a disease brought on by ergot, which is a fungus that grows on wheat when it's left in damp areas, which that winter was very damp. And it causes hallucinations. Or it could have been just because they were scared by the stories told by a slave from her Caribbean background. So, kind of a terrifying idea, and it really brings a different meaning to the word witch hunt. So, The Witches, Salem 1692 by Stacy Schiff. is the last one of my October TBR, because we're already halfway through the month. I'm really late on this video. But let me know in the comments what you're reading this month, and let me know what you think of the, wall oak glass behind me. I'm really sorry for the changes in lighting throughout the video. I'm still getting the hang of the new house. I'm not even fully unpacked yet. And check out my blog, Mariah's Nerdy Notes, for a wide variety of topics. I've done a book review on an arc that I was sent in September before I left Georgia, on Podkin One Ear, which is a new book. It just came out last month. So September, I think it was published September 7th. And if you're a fan of Redwall, make sure you check that out. There is a guest series going on right now on my blog, The Witch I Knew on Pleasant Home Road, written by my very good friend Torin. And it shows how, it definitely shows how friendships can be built over the smallest of things. And how sometimes what we think is embarrassing actually, and is hard for us, actually opens up an entirely new dimension to a friendship. And it's great for me just because it tells a story from his point of view. Let's just put it that way. So check that out, The Witch I Knew on Pleasant Home Road. And then I have also done an update post on the blog recently, and I did like I said, I did the book review. I hurt my back pretty badly, which you can't see it, but there's actually a pillow that I got at Home Goods. It's lumbar pillow behind me to support my back while I'm filming this. So I wasn't able to update this week, but I do post normally 2 posts a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, and then I will be doing a YouTube video on Saturdays or Sundays, depending on how my schedule is. But I'm really happy to be back. I hope you guys enjoyed the October TBR. Like and subscribe for more. I will be posting every weekend. And make sure you check out my blog, mariahsnerdynotes.blogspot.com, and leave a comment on what you would like to see more of on the channel. And make sure to stay tuned next week for a Preptober post for NaNoWriMo, which I will explain more in the blog post and video next week. It'll be a pair. So I hope you all have a great weekend and a great week coming up, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye.